and welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and as you all know, on Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, we explore the powerful intersection of mental and physical well-being. So today's guest is Timothy Lewis. So welcome to the show, Timothy.
Thank you, Avik. Appreciate you having me.
Lovely, lovely. So, Timothy, like before we start our conversation today, I would love to mention this to all of our listeners that Timothy, whose incredible journey of transformation will definitely inspire you. So, why I'm saying because at the age of 45, he decided to reshape his life, like hacking his body, mental fitness to lose 120 lbs and move from obesity and depression to metabolic fitness. So despite barely, I mean, after his studies, like he created several multi-million-dollar businesses and founded two charitable organizations, granting over 15 million euros to open source developers. That's really awesome, I'd say. So his personal life is equally remarkable. So he fell in love with an internationally regarded actress, raised a child, and navigated a difficult custody battle in a foreign country. So as an artist, musician, father, futurist, his electric style uh, and the passion for life offer valuable lessons in the resilience. So
Well, I
COVID-19,
hope,
yeah, so say.
I'm sorry, Avik. I hope I can inspire some. It wasn't a singular year process for business building, nor for the relationship that I had and then fell apart. But
Uh,
hopefully the lessons of resilience is what can be inspiring to others.
yeah, definitely. So also, like COVID-19 led him to face the obesity and the depression, definitely. And we all know how we all have faced those situations. That time was, I mean, do not want to remember that. So, but he turned his life around and is now building a health tech platform to help others do the same. So, so join us today as we dive deep into his journey, exploring the highs and lows and the impact on his health hacks. So, why to wait? Welcome to the show again, Timothy.
Thank you. Excited to be here. As I said, I'm always interested in speaking with people around, my own community and then in a broader community about things now that have really radically changed my life, and really coming down to the sense of being and understanding the core concepts of health, happiness, and enjoyment and purpose really allow us to just expand in our own development as conscious beings of this planet. So I'm very, very happy to the state of body and state of mind in which I exist today. It wasn't like this 16
Right.
months ago. It was a very, very hard time in my life. I had a lot of success in my business career, my entrepreneurial career, especially over the last 14 years now. But some of the personal things, due to some things beyond my control, but also due to some things that were in my control. And I wish I had had the tools that I think I have now or that I'm working on now to help me navigate them earlier. But it was an incredible journey. As you mentioned before, I think the biggest change physically, I was over 300 pounds and over 130 kilograms. And at my lowest point, I was down to 177. I've put on some muscle since then. I've been very diligent about understanding not only my blood work, but my physiology and making sure that I was able to do and have this radical change with the outcome of metabolic health, which I think, as gets more and more discussed, should be something when we think about our physical presence and how and if we are driving a purpose-led life, our metabolic health should be core to our physical health.
Exactly. Exactly. So, um, also would love to understand like what were the biggest challenges that you faced during your journey from obesity and the depression to the metabolic fitness?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when I was turning 45, I had a lot of things that were going on with the custody battle, with business stress, a partnership dispute, that you don't notice how much you're falling out of yourself And as you fall into depression, you don't, it's not a moment to where you have this immediate feeling or sense that you are depressed.
Yeah.
And so it's this process of understanding and realization. And then as an individual, sometimes you don't spend and haven't spent, I think, in our modern life enough time to work on ourselves and understand ourselves to be able to be confident in the solution or changes that you might be able to embrace to get out of that sort of deep obesity, deep depression, the things that we all struggle with in life. And it was the moment really when I started seeing my daughter more often at the end of this custody battle, when I started spending more time, being able to spend more time with her, that I realized I needed to be the father that she deserved. And so I found my purpose. I found the thing that I could tie into when things would get tough. It's, you have extrinsic purposes and you have intrinsic purposes. And the ones that are on the outside might just be physical beauty, and that's tough sometimes in the harder parts of the journey to stay attached to. But I found through really developing my sense of purpose for my daughter and then my health to reflect upon her, I was able to balance and find a real deep sense of purpose. So that was really the time, this one particular day, April 22nd of 2023, that I had seen photos of myself after a day of playing with her, after a day of being with her in a park. And I looked tired and I looked worn out and I looked unhappy.
Mm.
Whereas this was a moment in which I was truly happy. This was my daughter in my life. And now I've got her so much more. It's a blessing. But at that day when I saw that photo, I realized that not only was I not the person I needed to be for her, but I also questioned who I was when others met me. So when I met people for the first time, I had met a gentleman who I consider one of my greatest friends that same day. I met him later that evening. And when I really kind of reflected on my day, looking at this photo and thinking about who I was when I was meeting someone new, someone who I felt was an incredible person, how did I come off to them? And so it was that moment that I decided really to take the time. I was on a work sabbatical, so I'd fortunately had time. And I spent my time really diving deep into understanding all things about health hacking and all things about physiology and biochemistry, and tried to really educate myself on what I could do, what precise actions I could take that could have the most impact and as I needed them. Going through your journey, if you're obese, you don't have the same sort of exercise regimen or meal plan. You don't have the tools easily accessible. And so you need to understand the things that are most valuable in the beginnings of these processes so you can set yourself up for midterm and then lifetime of success.
That's that's lovely. Yeah. So also, I believe like as I was mentioning about COVID-19. So uh,
Hmm.
uh, how did it influence your decision to
Yeah.
start your health transformation?
Well, it was actually the downfall or one of the pitfalls of my health transformation, like I
Mm.
think many others. I think I had been growing more sedentary naturally as I aged, but the stay at home, the length of time, I think people started to stay at home and not have the daily activities and not have the walking and the normal movement, put a lot of people back further than they should be in a sedentary life. So, looking at that time, and I wasn't, tracking any of my statistics data-wise. I wasn't looking at any of the things that not really getting consistent testing to understand, my physical health, coupled with sitting at home more often and spending less time walking to either the work, the gym, food restaurants, spending any activity outside. So, that, like many others, I think put me in a space to where, I hadn't been in a while. And I've struggled with weight up and down my whole life. It wasn't as if this was a new thing. I've always had, and I definitely believe there's the different systems that make up our individual bodies, coupled with the food choices and environments that we grow into, have led myself and many others into a battle with food, a battle with food addiction. And I recognize and realize this, but in that time of COVID, it was hard to do the things that were offsetting that. And
Mm.
so it started to have a real snowball effect. And I, like many others, I gained a lot of weight during that time.
Got it. So, biohacking and the health techniques. So, what role did AI play in your health transformation?
So I've been a technologist my entire life. I've been a developer engineer my whole life, and I love creating products. I love working with new systems. I have all things tech. I progress very quickly through trying to understand new devices, new technologies, and then trying to create businesses out of them, functions that can serve the greater good. And as AI had been developing over the last 2, 3 years, I had started to use it more and more often for many different tasks and understanding many different things. But as it's just grown stronger, especially over the last year and a half, with models like GPT-4 being released now, 4.0, and Claude Monet, these tools can be used very precisely to understand concepts, understand systems that you might not understand yet. So putting together and being able to be able to ask about different things while you're learning a concept and subject matter is super, super useful. Being able to take fragmented information from books, from PDFs, from different guides,
Mm.
and then put them into a concise resource. Being able to have it then identify reoccurring topics, things that are most talked about most often, that might be most important. All of these things are important. Parsing tests, parsing medical tests now to understand. I hadn't been taking regular blood tests, nor did I understand the markers of regular blood tests. Now I've read 6 books on blood tests, and I've gone through using AI systems to try to not only understand what my tests might mean, but also have solutions to understand blood tests from others, just so I can validate and look at, and then not only look at normal ranges, but understand optimal ranges. Not only look at the supplementation that's related to trying to supplement people's deficiencies, but also what those supplements, the impact there might be on other supplements they might be taking, other medications they might be taking, the reactions. And all of this is possible through AI. So AI leads the charge now, I think, as my research assistant in almost everything that I do. But then building applications and programs using AI is something that's very capable now. And so uh, creating and utilizing different metric algorithms for blood tests and genetic tests has been incredible. So these are the roles that AI is starting to play. It will play a larger role in everyone's day-to-day life from here throughout time. And ultimately, it will get easier to use. But the tools are there. And then, trying to mobilize those tools into reusable applications is important. So that's another role that I've really been, working on with different things with AI.
Exactly. So also, uh, if you can describe some of the quantified self measurements like you use to track your progress.
Yeah. So I started initially by really getting better at stepping on a scale. And I
Okay.
quickly realized that just the scale number really is not that important. And obviously, many people know that now. There are very easy, smart scale devices now that will have bioelectrical impedance. And so you can get and track other things. They might not be as accurate as more laboratory tests like DEXA scans, but they
Mhm.
give you a good idea of your trending. And understanding that the regularity of testing was going to be important. This was one I knew I could jump on quickly, so I could understand not only my weight, but my muscle rate, my water weight, and a number of other statistics, and get interested in those types of things and quantifying those. So that was easy. But then it's the rest of the devices that are in life now. Smartwatches, making sure that you not only can access and understand the different features of your smartwatch, but also there are plenty of other third-party applications that can interface with tracking your information. For me, sleep data and movement data were and are incredibly important to my understanding of whether or not I'm doing the things daily that compound into results for health. And so smartwatch, smart ring, that's what I sleep with. I use an Ultrahuman. I've used several other brands. I've used the Aura. I started really getting into many of the devices. Other devices that I fell in love with later, the AeroFit device, learning breath control, really learning breathing, going through different breathing exercises, but also being able to measure that became fun to me. So when I think about the biohacking that I did, it was also kind of gamifying some of this to where I could understand where my levels were, where I wanted to get them to, and how I could, enjoy getting them to that rise in data. So, I really am fortunate to have been able to try many of the different devices that exist. But I'm also thankful that I have the ability to create the habits that are necessary to use devices like this to make them actually work for the things that you're working on in life. So studying habits and habit forming. So also studying behavioral change. So I wanted to really get an idea about the things and the certain types of activities that could encourage me to create behavioral change and habit.
Also, like, I mean, how did you leverage your experience as a uh, multi-exit founder in building your health tech platform?
So, I've actually been in the healthcare industry before. I spent a number of years at Kaiser Permanente and the American Medical Association. So I have the experience of understanding the back end. I usually did infrastructure and security design early in my career for data center building and information systems services. Using that, I had confidence in the fact that I knew a lot of not only the regulatory data permissions and the types of structures that I would need to set up, but also have had just a keen interest in the medical sciences, medical arts my whole life. My father is a sixth generation veterinarian. So my father and his five fathers before him were all vets in the middle of America for many generations. So growing up, I grew up around surgeries with animals. I grew up around a pharmacy that my father owned and a deep care for all beings. So when I thought to this and figured out as I hacked through my own solutions and found things that really started to work for me, and I felt like I had a great, grasp of the newer technologies and combining them, but also, aided by this, what I feel as is a miracle progression in the understanding and usage of peptides. This inspired me to create a platform that could be easier for people not only to take supplements, take medications, but use them and adhere to them in a much better way. So, for me, patient-reported information is where all of this starts and can begin. And there's no better advocate for your health than you. And we need to regain the power and the confidence, I think, as individuals, that we can understand the things that are going on with our body. We can identify them better than anyone else. And we can then use systems to use that knowledge to empower us to take back our health. So I wanted to build this out into a platform that could be created and centered around, community support. It could be centered around individual health journeys because everyone is on a different journey. And wanted to, was so inspired by the change that I think bringing all of this together for me had, and felt confident that I could build an amazing team because I'm good at building teams for deeply technical products. This I don't consider a deeply technical product yet. This for health, simplicity is key. And also I believe that having this be enjoyable is the only way that it works. Making sure that people are going to want to and enjoy seeing their progress and being able to be honest with themselves about where they are in their journey is a very private thing. So being able to make sure that things are something, you have a platform that you want to be interacting with. We've got things like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. All these things bring us these serotonin shots, and the medical apps are just boring, are just not fun. And so, we need to make it fun because that's the way that that's what we all expect. A little bit of enjoyment out of the things that we do keeps us coming back for more. So I felt confident in the fact that I could be building something that could be highly quality assured and then enjoyable to use. So that's what we put together. Right now we have a platform that would largely resemble an e-pharmacy at its current state, where we prescribe and deliver medications, particularly peptides, GLP-1 medications for weight loss, in 32 states in the US right now. But that's accompanied with a journey. And the journey component of our web platform right now really educates you in almost like a Duolingo style of your own health. You shouldn't be expected to go and know everything from the start.
Exactly.
And so, leading people slowly in, but also, giving them the time to understand and feel confident in their understanding. Because I know that the medical professionals of the world would love to do this. We know they're limited and their time is limited and they don't really get to see patients in the way that we would all love. So we have to augment that patient experience with AI. We have to augment that patient experience with, interface design, user experience. And that's what's going to be important about doing it. And we're rolling into that now. We just started accepting our first patients about 2 weeks ago, and it's been a lot of fun so far. And looking forward to continuing to develop a platform that will be fun, interactive, and you can help build the communities of support around your journeys.
Exactly. That's lovely. So, what mental fitness techniques did you find most effective during your transformation?
So keying in on behavioral change, understanding that I needed to create these better habits for my physical fitness is really what helped drive the hormonal change that led to my mental fitness. I think the ones of most impact after I started getting my movement up, after I started getting to 10,000 steps a day or more, as I started to incorporate different styles of physical activity that might drive greater hormone production, right? So I really like martial arts. I really like physical sports, but getting to the boxing gym every day would be difficult for me. I fell in love with VR fitness. So there are games, there are fun platforms to be able to replicate boxing, replicate body combat exercises. So I would augment some of the days in which I wasn't going into the gym with days that I would spend in my headset. These types of things to get myself into more of a fight or flight mode, but really being confident in my movement. Those types of things really sharpened my mind and gave me that confidence that I needed. That coupled with really breathing techniques, understanding how to breathe is something that I think every human needs to delve more into and learn more for themselves. This was, I know that there are so many things to think about and understand when it comes to holistic health. But the basics of breathing and understanding proper breathing technique and then understanding proper breathing exercises is life-changing. And it becomes so much, it becomes one of my favorite things, it became one of my favorite things to do. And so, learning how to breathe, I think, was an important one. I mean, I do the other things that many other people do, like cold showers and ice baths, because I do find those useful. But some of the basics, I think, are the best ones to get down: movement and breathing.
Understood. So, what advice do you have for others who are struggling with both the mental and physical health issues?
My advice would be that you can yourself get through this. My advice would be to find something and a purpose to really anchor on, and to where if you want that change, ideally try to find the time to prioritize your health. If you don't find the time to prioritize your health, no one will. And so, demanding that, understanding that if you do demand that and create time for it, that all of the other things that you're struggling with in life will improve. It may not seem like it in the first week in which you have to demand blocks of time to spend walking, spend breathing, spend, really trying to be more physical and understanding your dietary habits. If you do spend that time, it will compound in the benefits that the other things that you do have. So ultimately, you can also spend time trying to get fit and doing things incorporated into some of the things that you're doing. One of my hacks along the way is the way I would watch, and I love American football. The way I would watch American football, in years previous would be sitting on a couch and watching games. I quickly changed that around by adding a treadmill in front of my TV screen. And so instead of just watching the game from my couch, I started just getting on a treadmill. You don't have to do uh, exercises that are going to exhaust you at all times. Basing movement on just zone 2, zone 1, easy movement does so much for your body and really should be the basis of your movement. So, doing the simple things that you might be able to incorporate in your life, walk up those stairs, and don't take the elevator, and jog up those stairs, don't take the elevator. Instead of ordering the delivery food, go out and get the food, go out and get the groceries, get that movement in, get that walk in. So, everyone can find this place, and the materials that are out there are great. Now, if you are exposed to and can find out about peptides, the peptide revolution, I think, is really going to radically change metabolic health throughout the world. And for those users here who might not be familiar with peptides, peptides are short strings of amino acids that are binded by a peptide bond that are the precursors for larger hormones and proteins in your body. They're kind of like the messaging center for your body. These things are created naturally by different systems, and other systems, when they recognize them, they start into their own action. Particularly with weight loss, GLP-1, glucagon like peptide 1 is produced in our pancreas. And we recognize it, and the systems that get moving are your liver, your small intestine, and your hypothalamus. So this has different effect. And so these things, we've known about them for a long time in science and medicine. The first commercially available peptide was insulin. Right. And but creating these things and being able to either synthesize them or manufacture them and distribute them has been and still is challenging. But they're about as natural as it gets. These are just strings of amino acids that are forming together, and in most cases, your body is producing already. Now, all people, they produce different amounts of peptides for different reasons. For metabolic health issues will slow that down. Age slows that down. But this is the way to augment your system's own production and allow the other systems, which otherwise would be doing their job if they were recognized that they were being called upon, it gets them back into their movement. It gets them back into their rhythm. So those that haven't heard about peptides, and they're not just for GLP-1, there are many of these things that are starting to show up in both the prescription and research world of medicine that really are unbelievable in what they do. They're really they can have an incredible effect. So learning about that would be something that should be exciting to most people. I mean, we've been, I think, at a global level, obesity is the number one disease state that is also leads to the most amount of mortality. So ultimately, people understanding that this is something that is being proven to be very effective for many, many people. You can't say all, but I would be, it's most people will feel will have a will be of great use to use this medication. So finding out about it from your physician, finding out about it from your MD, finding out about it from trusted resources that you can now find online, doing your research on it to make sure it's something that you are comfortable with. And speaking with a medical professional about that is something I would highly recommend. And it is becoming more and more available worldwide. In the United States, we are so happy to be able to distribute peptides, very sterile peptide, and we know that the quality and quality assurance of our peptide is world class. But They are available from many other ways, and people should learn and research about them.
Lovely. Great. That's really great. So, uh, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. It's definitely going to help people uh, to understand and cope up with the situation. So, for sure. And we definitely, dear listeners, we have had the privilege of uh, exploring Timothy's incredible journey from obesity to the depression to the metabolic fitness and entrepreneurial success. So, his story is definitely a testament to the power of determination, innovation, and the resilience. So, uh, if you have found inspiration in Timothy's transformation and his use of AI, which I also definitely support a lot, biohacking and the peptides, do not forget to check out his health tech platform and see how it help you achieve your health goals. So, as always, we hope that today's episode has provided you with the valuable insights and the motivation to pursue your own health and the wellness journey. So, until next time, take care of your mind, nurture your body, and embrace the journey of a healthier and a happier mind. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Avik.